It is Country Viewpoint here on Flow FM, and it's time for us now to head to the New South Wales Riverina to find out what's going on there. Of course, the paper of choice if you're in the Riverina is The Rural. Pick up a copy and read some of the work in there by Nikki Reynolds and friends. Nikki Reynolds joins me on the line right now. How are you, Nikki?
I'm well, thank you, and thanks for having me again.
Great to have you back on the show. We've got a lot to get through in the program today. Now, Stephen Reid from Michelle Wool, he'll be joining us on Friday to talk more generally about how wool is going nationally and how some of the auctions have been going. But I believe the wool price is been going, I think the technical term is bananas, and you've got a copy or you've done a story on this and what it means locally, right?
That's right. So I do like your term bananas, but I think we use stellar wool prices. Wool has rallied for 4 weeks in a row. So we're back to pre-COVID levels. Now, you and I have spoken so much about this trading relationship with China and how much it affected wool. We obviously spoke about wool, we spoke about barley, but in the meantime, there's been so many success stories in agriculture. But for anybody who's stuck by the wool industry, the rewards are certainly there now. So we're looking at an Eastern market indicator of 1,393 cents, which has actually gone up 50 cents in the past week at auction sales in Australia. But for people in this area, they're just thrilled. So we caught up with, one of our friends at the paper. We caught up with Jenny Turner. Now, she's from Fox and Lily at Culcan in southern New South Wales. And Jenny is one of the best advocates you will find for the wool industry. She just has such a passion and enthusiasm. And she also has a really good in-depth understanding of agriculture. And something Jenny said is, that we're such a resilient bunch in agriculture, and she's just so pleased to see the optimism out there. She did confirm that when the prices plummeted, as you and I spoke about on this program during COVID, there were people who opted to hold wool on farm. So, they go into that on-farm storage, or they even store it in the warehouses, and then they wait for the market to kick. So We might see some of that wool come onto the market. It's smart, but either way, there are other people who need cash flow and they will sell it anyway. So it's one of those things. It's a very personal decision. It depends on your business model and just how you're set up. But it's an interesting one. And then we also have comment here from Marty Moses from Moses and Sons at Temora, and he's saying the same thing. We've seen that wool held over. Like I said, you and I have spoken about so many success stories in agriculture. We've seen prime lambs doing really well. We've seen sale yard indicators going through the roof for all types of livestock. But just to have the stars align, as we like to say in agriculture, to have wool bouncing back to its rightful place, that is fantastic. One thing that Jenny very cleverly pointed out, we're starting to see some easing of restrictions in parts, not just in Australia, but other parts of the world too. We're seeing weddings, we're seeing people return to the office. That means they want their suits, they want their garments, and like you mentioned when we were talking off air, there was a demand for wool in China as well. So we're seeing that people are just returning to this fibre of choice, I guess you'd say.
Absolutely they are. This is fantastic news, and you can check out that story in The Rural this week. Moving on to a picture story. Now, this is a very interesting story too. Alongside the pictures, you'll see of a very well-known local gentleman who has been nominated for a major award. Is that right?
That's right. So we're looking at our country show societies, and the country show societies have an annual award for what they call Ag Show Excellence. Now, this man, Lyle Wilkinson, he's from north of what we call our readership. So he's been nominated by West Wyalong Show Society. Now, he's one of 3 people who have been nominated in this award. And like I said, he represents our region extremely well. The winner will be chosen or selected this weekend. But the thing about his commitment is it's just enormous for West Wyalong. It's far-reaching. He's been involved in everything from, cattle stewarding to helping to run junior judging competitions to being involved in hoof and hook competitions. And as you know, we speak on this show about the importance of ag shows so much. But as you know, to make these community events run, it's all about volunteers. It's about the people who have the local knowledge and put up their hands and make these events successful. So we certainly wish all the best to Lyle. The other nominees are certainly outstanding as well, but we concentrated on Lyle this week because he is from our readership.
Sure, makes sense. So have a read of that story in the Rural this week. And along with that, we've covered this story so many times in the past. It was a terrible bushfire around that Duns Road area. They called it the Super Blaze through that period before COVID. But the locals there around that area, I believe, have gathered recently and I guess marked the recovery. Now, they've just basically got together to have a community gathering and outing. Is that right?
That's right. So, you summed it up so well. The Duns Road fires were just devastating. I remember being glued to the RFS radio, just listening to it in this area. Not just as someone who's a journalist or in the media, but, I live in the area. Every single RFS volunteer was pretty much called up at some stage. All of those little RFS branches that are dotted around the countryside, they were called in to volunteer, and we still hear stories about this particular blaze, which was just so far-reaching. And, we're going back to before COVID times with this. But this week we were really grateful to, I guess, report on what could be a positive. So a lady called Nikki Reynolds reached out to us, and I'll just let you know she's no relation to me, so I'm not being... but I certainly would have covered this story anyway because it was just so good for the community. So Jess reached out to us and told us about this amazing gathering at Adelong that was attracted more than 500 people. To get 500 people at Adelong is just amazing. There was children's entertainment, high-level catering. People could enjoy a coffee or something nice to eat. There was a band. There was music playing. And which was something that was really novel about this. It had an ugly sweater theme. So we've seen, those knitted tops. And you'll see, please don't judge the fashion. When you look at the photos in the Rural, please read and see that this event had an ugly sweater theme because they did so well. Because the first thing you'll think is, oh, that's not typical farmer attire. I guess they were ragged up. We've got everything from mums and children and dads wearing ugly sweaters. So it was a great way to have some fun and to stay warm. And it was a case for some sponsors to come together and people who had given back. So it was the community saying thank you to everyone who had helped them. And it was also, I guess, a bit of a mental relief from them. They've all been through so much. We've had the fires, we've had COVID, we've had so many social distancing lockdowns in this area. So to be able to gather in a large place like Adelong, run an event outside, it's just positive. And we've got those photos in the paper and online, and we're so grateful for Jess Reynolds in sharing that with us because it truly is a good news story for this area after all that they've been through.
Certainly is. So check it out in the Rural this week, those and plenty of other stories as well. Nikki, for our listeners, your readers across the Riverina, where can they pick up a copy of your paper?
So look out for the Rural as an insert in the Daily Advertiser. The Daily Advertiser, in its own right, has done a great job at covering some ag stories this week too, so you'll get more bang for your buck. I'm not sure if I said to you at the start of our interview, the Rural is actually 24 pages this week, so there's plenty to see, lots of national content in there, lots of local sales, local faces. We've got lots of photos, so please look out for it as an insert in the Daily Advertiser. It's also a standalone publication, and we do have an online presence. We definitely have Facebook, and we have a website. We're also giving away some rural fiction at the moment, so either scroll through our Facebook page or jump online to our website, which is allthewsofrural.com.au. And like I said, there's people like Jess who were involved in organising that Duns Road event, and they've certainly been able to reach out to us online. We've also had people touching base with us about the events because on page 2 and also online, we're running that rural events calendar again. After last year, that calendar didn't run for a while because of COVID restrictions. So as you know, we go state by state, region by region, obviously with the lockdowns at the moment or any cases. But if there's an event on the calendar, we will put it on there until we know any different, just to get the word out.
Absolutely. Make sure you get those in to Nikki at the Rural. Pick up a copy of your paper this week. Nikki Reynolds, great catching up. Look forward to doing it again next week.
Yes, and thank you for having me.